John.
Angie.
Okay, so have you heard the buzz lately?
Oh, I think that's the bees.
You're killing me. Well, I'm talking about the AI buzz.
Well, I hear all sorts. So what have you been hearing? What's on your grapevine?
Listen, interesting. I have to be honest, initially, and AI has become more and more prominent as days pass, like literally minutes. And I think I checked a box in my head originally and said, I don't know how that's really going to apply to coaching. However, of course, I found my way through and would love to share some of my insights in our session today.
Well, I'll see if I can throw a few of mine in as well if we have time. Let's open the clinic. Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie.
The show for professional coaches who want to develop their skills and grow their business.
Follow the show on your favorite podcast app.
And join us every Wednesday for new episodes. So it's so interesting because I know I resist, even when texting became like a thing or smartphones. My friends had to convince me, like, you need a smartphone. And I was like, I like my phone. And they're like, no, you just touch the screen. So I am not the person easily sold on anything, honestly, unless it's something that right? We all have to connect to something. So I wouldn't say at this point that I resisted the idea of AI because I did not. But I would say that my lack of understanding on how to utilize it as a tool, I don't know, held me back from actively seeking a way to incorporate it into my coaching structure.
Sure. It's a bit like when the internet first was a thing. Oh, you had access to it. Ask it anything. The wealth of encyclopedic knowledge is here for you.
Yeah.
What shall I ask? What shall I ask?
Yeah. So and now we talk to our phones and say, oh, hey Siri, okay Google, bloppity blop, plug and play. You can find out.
You've just triggered people's eyeballs by saying that.
No, that's so funny. It's so true. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. I don't really want to spend today talking about all of the things. But again, I have friends like yourself. I have friends that are coaches. It's like this, oh my gosh, are we going to be replaced? Or how do we do this? Like, how do we fit into, or how does this fit into our business? Because in every business, every industry, every person I know is using some form of AI, whether it's to create an email that's difficult to write, right? Take out the emotion. Sure, it's endless. It's so subjective that I feel like what you can do with AI is you could probably tell me how to do surgery. John and I are on a deserted island and his leg is infected. I need to do surgery. Tell me how to do that. And as long as I have, my Wi-Fi connection, it's going to tell me I can do almost anything. Doesn't mean that I should, though. Let's just be honest.
I'll sharpen the coconut so that you're ready to go when time comes up.
Oh my gosh.
Just to chime in a little. I get what you're saying. And I think whilst there's some of us who are really leaning into AI, there are people who are moving the other way and moving away from it, don't want it. And I get exactly why as well. People want to actually feel a bit more connected and they don't feel that with AI. People want to use their own brain power, and that AI does definitely potentially diminish some of that. And also people don't really want to be tracked and do have some fear about these things, and also want to be a bit more human and not part robot. So I get that. These are things that make me think, well, yeah, there's always going to be people who want human coaching, doing coaching in a very human way. Right. But for those of us who are using it and into it, there's a lot we can take advantage of that can make our jobs as coaches much easier, which is certainly one of the things that you're alluding to.
Well, I love easy, but I don't love lazy, right? So I think that a lot of people are maybe going too far in one direction, like, hey, let me let it do all the thinking for me, rather than, let me look to gain some insight, or, hey, create ideas beyond where I'm sitting. I don't even care if it's a recipe, right? If somebody says, what do you want for dinner tonight? My husband, what do you want for dinner tonight? I don't know. And I'll look and see what I have. And then I get creative. Then I start saying, ooh, can I make some, okay, I'm dating myself, stone soup? Anybody remember that story? Right? What can I create? I'm not even, John shook his head and I'm not even going to go there. Look it up. It's the story of stone soup. But anyway, what can I make from nothing, or what I perceptually believe is nothing? There's that. And so I definitely caution people when they're using AI. Like, certainly, oh, you have to always double check it. It is definitely a higher level than us and its capabilities, but we can't let it take over. So to your point, I think there's people who, if they want to do some self-guided work, they certainly can use AI. But I don't think at this point we've yet been replaced as human coaches with real emotion and real insights and something outside of them, like pragmatic, right? Like being pragmatic is part of what we should be doing, but we also have to be able to utilize empathy and things like that within our coaching sessions. So I have challenged myself and said, what, how can I, or should I incorporate AI into my business? Couple of things have popped up. One of the greatest challenges is remaining present while you're taking notes, right? You should be taking notes if you're a coach. Well, great. Thank you. I use Zoom for my calls, and Zoom AI produces some really fabulous broken down notes and categories. I have to read, I was lazy. I was lazy at first. I assumed it just knew better than me. And then I was sending notes that I'm like, oh, wait, that wasn't accurate. So now, of course, I do the double check. But let me just tell you what that has done in terms of freeing up my time in between sessions and having a really structured and methodical approach to the notes. That's like the first place, I think, at baseline foundational level, where I started incorporating AI into the actual sessions, the actual coaching piece of it. You said we earlier. Where are you using it?
Well, a number of places. I definitely use it for note taking and transcribing as well. And I prefer, like, if my clients want to review a call, I prefer them to read the transcripts and look at the notes rather than go back into a recording. Simply because I think this has come up before, but I don't want them to step back into where they were emotionally or whatever.
Sure.
Whilst they're sometimes it can put people back where they were, and needing to have the breakthrough again. It's weird, but it does happen. And so I like it for that. But beyond that, I've been able to create tools that I can give to my clients that help them progress with some things that they're working on. I've been able to tell when they're not really doing their own work, and AI is kind of doing a lot of the thinking for them as well. So this isn't so much what I bring. This is like an awareness thing of I think we are at a point I'm at a point, certainly I think many of us are, with AI, of familiarity, where you can mostly recognize when something has been written by AI. Maybe not 100%, maybe it's not foolproof, but you can mostly recognize that. And even for myself, like, sometimes I will give principles or an outline to AI and say, hey, look, put together a little article for me. Here's the key points. Here's what I want it to all be about. And here's the stories and stuff like that. And it will do it. And I still have to go and rewrite it because it doesn't still write in my voice and it doesn't write in a human way. So I'm very much like, yeah, there are things that I will use AI for that will speed up some processes, but I'm very keen that AI doesn't do the work for you. It is still a collaborator, an aid, an assistant, a tool, rather than the workhorse.
It's not a replacement. Right. Exactly. And I feel, listen, did you see me starting to giggle? Remember that client you and I both knew that was like, oh, let me create an XYZ, and they did it through AI. And this was not that long ago. So that's how far AI has come. And it was such a shit show. It was like everything you should not do when using AI showed up here. And that's the thing. And what it was, right, was replacement in that space, right? We don't want to try and replace ourselves. We want to supplement the work that we're doing. The other thing that I've been doing, so this has been my lifelong challenge with being a coach and notes. So you've heard me talk, folks, you've heard me say at the end of the coaching engagement, a session or two before the final, I encourage people to go back and review all of their notes and et cetera, et cetera. Well, I'm challenging people now and I'm doing it myself. So I'm not just challenging my clients to do it, but I'm doing it where I literally will upload all of their notes into AI, and I'm prompting AI to look for themes, look for missed opportunities, look for focal points, look for thematics, look for the themes. I will say to you that it's not completely different than my awareness, but what it does is it allows you, like I have clients, you do too, John, where I've been working with some people for like 10 plus years. Now, that becomes very cumbersome to bring things forward so that we don't lose sight of maybe the granules that weren't as relevant at session 3, but maybe in round 2, session 3, those are things that we even forget. So I love the idea of utilizing it to keep everything organized and systematized and accessible so that I'm not pouring through pages and pages of notes to find the wins, the growth opportunities, the themes, opportunities I even may have missed. Hey, we talked about this and you dropped it. And it's not mean to me like that, but hey, here's a couple of forgotten points. Are these still relevant? What a great way to optimize the idea of the notes. Like that has been for me as a coach, top of mind going, gosh, this is so cumbersome. If I have somebody who's doing 26 sessions with me and I'm reading 26 sessions of notes to look for the wins, and I know people are like, well, you should be doing it cumulatively. Yes, but even that, and I do, but there are still pieces, nuggets that are missed. You can't bring every single thing forward. So it has changed everything for me in terms of approach. Not so much that I'm like, hey, how do I work with this difficult client? Maybe I still want to be me. But in terms of utilizing those notes as a tool, and I'm doing it and I'm encouraging my clients to do it so that when I'm gone, as I say to them, when we're no longer together, and then I joke and say, which will never happen because we're going to work together forever, haha. But this is a great tool for them to utilize to keep the work going after we're done. And it's not just a pile of pages or a file in their email, right?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, that was a big long.
No, I like that. No, I like it because I've used AI tools in similar ways, like create content, and I really want to know, have I missed something? Do my points make sense? Is this strong? Is this something that people actually need to know about? Whilst I may not always 100% trust its answers, I still have to trust and verify kind of thing. But it does sometimes give me things that's like, oh, hey, what about this? You didn't include that in there. Does it need to be in there? Great. I will say very quickly that I did recently I don't use ChatGPT as my main AI tool anymore, but I was. It was very well trained on my voice, but it wasn't delivering the quality I want. The same way that Claude is, and I'm much happier working with Claude, even then it's not perfect. But I set the voice on like the tone of the ChatGPT to really sarcastic, and
There's a fucking surprise.
and I don't.
Sorry, did I just curse? I'm so sorry.
And I don't recommend it. Like if you I don't know if it's still around. Do you know that restaurant Dick's Last Resort where the waiters insult you, the wait staff insult you, and that's part of the theme of it?
So I think I remember hearing about that.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember going to one once with a bunch of friends, and within 10 minutes we were walking out because we were so pissed off. That's what ChatGPT is like with me now. Is this really mean?
So John has created his own virtual bully. That's great. I love it.
It's really snide on everything that I make. I mean, it's fun, and if you're open to having your rib poked and being very humble, then it's worth a try, But you'll probably end up wanting to change it, much like I have. Claude is much nicer, maybe a bit too nice. But here's the thing with this. I find as a coach, this is why I'm not worried. The most impactful things for my clients do not happen when they're chatting to an AI tool. They happen when we're chatting and when we're going deep on stuff. Just this past week, I had that with a client. You think, well, could an AI coach help them? Maybe a bit, but we also now hear more and more stories about where AI has perhaps led people astray and sometimes even to problematic situations.
Yeah, it can be like the rabbit hole of all rabbit holes. Honestly, it is not a magic wand, right? It's not, but I think it's a great analytical partner to highlight or illuminate areas that we as humans, we get so caught up in details, I think, with our clients sometimes because we become more and more familiar. I think initially we don't necessarily know, understand, or realize what is happening, but the more familiar we become, the less we are, less objective I think we become, right? Slightly. It's not something you can even notice every time, right? Because it's incrementally over a period of time. When I went back and was reading some of these notes and looked at areas where I lost track of of focal points or tools and frameworks, even that, right? People forget what tools and frameworks we give. Create a space for that, right? So you always have it and you're not going, gee, where was that persuasion formula that Angie was used? Like, it is great for that, but by no means is it going to replace us because we are still the ones that make the magic happen. Again, that's bottom line.
It might achieve censures and wipe us out, but it's not going to replace us.
So I think there's positive in utilization. I think and also too, when you have more clients, right? The more clients you have, the longer you work with people, it helps to keep us, and I don't want to say honest because that implies that we're being dishonest, but it really just keeps, I think, a more objective lens from which we can view the client and ourselves, right? Go, oh yeah, I did miss that. One of the things I miss about working in a company, a coaching company, is the camaraderie, the support, hey, I'm really struggling with a client. And you and I have those conversations, but it's not always, it's not consistent, it's not weekly. And when you are sitting in an office at home by yourself, we lose that ability to create cohesion and have a conversation. I think to some degree, it replaces your job. I'm just saying.
I think it can imitate our voice. We can train it into our ways of thinking and even to sound somewhat like us. But it can't really replace that. There is no substitute. I was just writing about the importance of ethos, which is like your credibility, your character, and all this sort of things in terms of can people copy what you do? It's like, people could copy exactly what you do, but they can't replace you because they're not you. They don't have your experience. Right. They don't have your insights. They don't have your knowledge. They don't have everything about you that makes you you. As imperfect as we might think ourselves to be, the perfections actually piss people off, put people off. This is one of the problems with AI. One of the reasons why it's maybe not the best tool to use for writing articles, because stuff ends up a little too perfect sometimes, and that's not human. So let's keep our humanity in all of this, but let's definitely use it as an unpaid intern or assistant or whatever,
a partner,
and take a lot of tasks off our plate. Yeah.
Right. A thought partner,
all of that.
A guide, but not a replacement, for sure. Love it.
100% that. Great. Let's wrap things up for today. We'll close the clinic, but we'll be back again very soon.
We will. Do you have a question for the coaching clinic?
Reach out on LinkedIn to connect with Angie and John.
Leave us a voicemail or video message and we will feature you on the show.
You can also leave up to 90-second voicemail for free on www.speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic podcast.
We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Bye for now.